G'day again guys, and thank you for joining me. One of the most common questions that I get is how do I know which colour pencil to use? And I really do understand this question. For years I only worked in charcoal and graphite because I was just overwhelmed. I didn't know which colour pencil to use. There was such an array of choices and it all just seemed confusing. In fact, I remember saying that I could only work in black and white because I just didn't get colour. I completely wrote off that idea as just too hard, and that attitude held me back for a really long time. Now, these days we do have technology that can help us make these decisions. Programs like Photoshop have the colour picker tool where you can pick a little area of colour in your reference photo, paint that on a white background, and you will be able to see much clearer what colour you actually need to match with there. Or of course there are apps you can use on your phone. One of my favourites is called the Colour Pencil Picker, and that will allow you to input a set of pencils that you may own, and then it will tell you exactly what combination of pencils you need to use to blend to match an area in your reference photo. It makes things super simple, and I will actually leave a link to the iOS and Android versions down below in the description. It's pretty fantastic. But what did we do before we had all this technology? And what if you don't want to rely on these tools forever? What if you just want to be able to choose colours on your own? One of the biggest hurdles we face when trying to choose which colours to use is that colour can just depend on so many things. Not only do we have the inherent colour of the object that we're trying to render here, but the conditions of the day, the lighting can make just a huge difference. Is that object being lit by bright sunlight? Is it being hit by a harsh fluorescent bulb? Maybe it's sunset, maybe you've got a coloured bulb on that. That same object will look completely different and have a completely set of colours depending on the lighting of that day. But then we have the complication that our own perception of colour can be vastly changed and manipulated by the colours surrounding that object. Is that object sitting on a white background? It'll look vastly different to our brains than that same object sitting on a black background. And then once again we are complicated by our own biases and our own perceptions. It seems like a whole lot of hard work. I wanted to demonstrate how we all perceive colour differently. So I showed this image of some cherries to my followers over on Facebook, Instagram and Patreon, and I asked them which colours they thought they might use to paint this image. Now, most people saw reds, but some saw blues and lavenders and oranges, navy blue and ochres. Many of the people who commented are outstanding artists themselves, so their answers weren't wrong. It's just that they were seeing this image differently and applying different colours than other people. This is why choosing colours can feel so hard. It's incredibly intimidating at first. It just feels like there are too many options, and to the beginner it feels like it's too easy to go wrong. But I promise you it's not. I decided to do a little experiment. What would happen if I drew these two cherries using completely different sets of colours? For the first piece, I coloured these cherries how I saw them. Now, I really like bold, warm colours, so unsurprisingly, as I worked, I was looking for those bold, warm colours. Using my Polychromos pencils, I found dark reds, scarlets, sanguines, cinnamons and walnuts. Now, many of these colours are my favourite pencils, so funnily enough, I found a way to use them. My eyes saw this image and my brain skewed my decision making down to choosing my favourite colours. These were quick drawings, so I didn't go into too much detail, but when the first drawing was done, I was very happy. I liked the decisions that I made and these cherries looked tasty to me. A couple of weeks later, with a completely fresh set of eyes, I drew those same cherries again, this time deliberately not choosing the same pencils as last time. I went against my own instincts and I looked for cooler tones this time. With all of my favourite pencils off the table, I was forced to see different shades. This time I found alizarins, magentas and blues. And when I was finished, they looked like a juicy set of cherries to me. Now, both of these images rendered with completely different colours both looked like what they were supposed to look like. But which one was better? Which one was more correct? I took it back to social media and the results were actually pretty surprising. It was a pretty even split. Some people liked the warmer version, some people liked the cooler version. So I would argue that neither of these choices was right or wrong. So if I could draw these two images with completely different colours and they both look like cherries, then what's going on here? Those reasons of perception and lighting difference that make it feel so hard to choose which colour to use are the same reasons that we have so much wiggle room when it comes to choosing which colours to use. Now, your brain is very accustomed to knowing what an object is no matter what the lighting conditions of the day are. If you saw those cherries under a bright sun at midday or under a twinkling firelight, your brain would still know what that object was, even though the colours of them were completely different. It's the values of your colours that make all of the difference. The lights and the darks tell your brain where the light is hitting an object, where the shadows are. Is that object flat? Is it round? Is it fluffy? Is it shiny? All of that information is found in the values of your colour and not the actual colours themselves. If you get these lights and darks right, you can actually go pretty crazy with your colour and still end up with something that looks very realistic. So here's the good news. If you're already working in black and white and you're looking to make the leap to working in colour, and you've already got a good idea about how to work with your values, you've already got this, baby. But here's the bad news. After all of this talking, I still haven't given you the magic recipe, the colour by numbers rules to knowing which colours to use in your own work. And that's just because there isn't any. Colour choice depends on so much and matters so little. At the end of the day, colour choice will depend on you, the artist, and your perceptions and your preferences will end up informing your work as you go forward. I can't tell you how you should choose your colours, but I can show you how I choose mine. Over on Patreon, I do have a real-time video showing you over my shoulder as I talk through the process of colouring the first cherry you saw in this video. Now, this is free, no pledge necessary. I've just put it up there so you can watch over my shoulder and see how I make my decisions. As for you, I'm sorry to say, but this one comes down to practice. It always comes down to practice. I'm so sorry. But hopefully after seeing this, you can feel a bit braver in your choices going forward. Don't worry about colour so much, guys. It matters less than you think. So there you have it, guys. That's my best attempt to answer the question of how to know which colours to use. I know it's not the easy answer that everybody wants, but with practice, I promise this gets a whole lot better. So grab some colours and see what works. Watch your values and I promise you won't go too far wrong. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please leave me a like if you found this helpful, or if you've got some tips for other artists, then please leave a comment down below. If it's your first time here, then I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button. And until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.